Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridantosti Abhadrani Vidunoti Savasrutam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8, verses 21 and 22. Okay, verse 21. Tatha manurvo bhagyan pitamaho yam ekamatya puru dakshinirmake istva vipeda durvam anyato bhauman sukham divyam atha pavargyam. Translation. Suniti informed her son, your grandfather Swayambhuva Manu executed great sacrifices with distribution of charity, and thereby, with unflinching faith and devotion, he worshipped and satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By acting in that way, he achieved the greatest success in material happiness and afterwards achieved liberation, which is impossible to obtain by worshipping the demigods. Purport. The success of one's life is measured by one's material happiness in this life and liberation in the next. Such success can be achieved only by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The words ekamatya mean concentrating one's mind on the Lord without deviation. This process of undeviating worship of the Supreme Lord is also expressed in Bhagavad Gita as Ananya Bhak. That which is impossible to obtain from any other source is also mentioned here. Other source refers to worship of the demigods. It is especially stressed here that the opulence of Manu was due to his undeviating faithfulness in the transcendental service of the Lord. One who diverts his mind to worshipping many demigods to obtain material happiness is considered bereft of intelligence. If anyone wants even material happiness, he can worship the Supreme Lord without deviation. And persons who are desirous of liberation can also worship the Supreme Lord and achieve their goal of life. Next verse, 22. Tam eva vatsarya vrata vatsalam musmuksu birmrgya pada padabja paddhatin ananya bhave nija dharma bhavite manasi avastapya bhajavya purusham. Translation. My dear boy, you also should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is very kind to his devotees. Persons seeking liberation from the cycle of birth and death always take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service. Becoming purified by executing your allotted occupation, just situate the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your heart, and without deviating for a moment, always engage in his service. Purport. The system of Bhakti Yoga described by Queen Suniti to her son is the standard way of God realization. Everyone can continue in his constitutional occupational duties at the same time, keep the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart. This was also instructed by the Lord himself to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Go on fighting, but keep me within your mind. That should be the motto of every honest person seeking perfection in Krishna consciousness. In this connection, Queen Suniti advised her son that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Bratsa Vatsalya, which indicates that he is very kind to his devotees. She said, you came to me crying, having been insulted by your stepmother, but I'm unable to do any good for you. But Krishna is so kind to his devotees that if you go to him, then the combined kindness of millions of mothers like me will be surpassed by his affectionate and tender dealings. When everyone else fails to mitigate one's misery, Krishna is able to help the devotee. Queen Suniti also stressed that the process of approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not easy. but is sought after by great sages who are very advanced in spiritual realization. Queen Suniti also indicated by her instruction that Dhruva Maharaj was only a small child, 5 years old, and it was not possible for him to purify himself by the way of karma kanda. But by the process of bhakti yoga, even a child less than 5 years of age can be purified. That is the special significance of bhakti yoga. Therefore, she advised him not to accept worship of the demigods or any other process, but simply take to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the result will be all perfection. As soon as one places the Supreme Personality of Godhead within one's heart, everything becomes easy and successful. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I seek blessings from all the assembled devotees. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to read from Srimad Bhagavatam and also understand these and apply for application in my own personal life and my own purification. So we are, everybody can see my screen right now, right? This slide. So I thought of just putting this into a practical perspective, right? Right now we are seeing the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. A little boy wanted to sit on his father's lap and mom chastises. And what does Surichi really say? That you cannot sit on your father's lap. You should go pray to Lord Vishnu that you next life you take birth from my womb, and then you will be able to sit on the father's lap and be a king. So that is what she said. So at that point, what happened, right? So this is something we all see, very practical experience in our own lives. We all have experienced some of those situations where it is very shocking, like this grief process comes to us. And what does this look like? It could be an incident that happens with one of our family members, or it could be something that personally, like it happens to you yourself, maybe some of the situations where you're completely like thrown off from what your expectations are. It could be so many different ways how this could come, but the grieving process basically looks the same. So these are the steps, again, these are the steps which are given in a general setting, right? The stages of grief. The first is denial, where it can be like, oh, this can be happening to me. Like you don't want to accept it, right? So here also Dhruv Maharaj internally, he felt that like, how could a motherly figure who's supposed to be providing him protection, providing him care, is saying these words to him? Like it's unbelievable, right? To be imagining that. And then anger. So at that point, how did Dhruv Maharaj respond? And the explanation is given in the previous verses. Like he just started like responding, like his body, he could not tolerate the anger. And what did he do? He ran to his mother, right? That's what happened. Bargaining. So what happens in that stage? It's like, make this not happen. And in return, I will. This is something we always do, right? In a grieving process, especially I can relate to this, where an example would be like, if, as I said, either ourselves or maybe a family member is diagnosed with some kind of a condition, or where it personally has happened to in my own life. That's how I can relate to this very well, where you try to bargain, you're trying to bargain with the situation and say that, maybe if this happens, I can do certain things. And this is where all the ritualistic process comes in. However, we know better, right, that we don't do that. And then the reaction is also depression, like sad to do anything. Even here, although Dhruv Maharaj was expressing anger, and Mother Suniti also felt anger, but there was also where she became so sad and like dried up, like because of this reaction. It was the previous verse where it expressed her situation, how she felt about this whole thing. And then finally, we come to acceptance stage where it is that I am at peace with what happened. So this is where the I guess, in the material, in the external world or in the normal process, we end with this. But however, for us as devotees, we don't end with acceptance, right? We do acceptance, and we also take it to a next step, which is learning. What do we learn from the situation, right? So we have to remember that any situation that comes to us in our life, the way Vaishnavas interpret is that it's all Krishna's mercy. When something happens to us, because Krishna is giving us something that we will only be able to tolerate, and he knows that, and everything that is given to us, it may look different, it may look like sweet something, sometimes it is the nimba juice or bitter, but again, even that is Krishna's mercy. That is how Vaishnava accepts, and they take every situation as Lord's grace, and also it is a learning lesson for me. So that is something that's not here, but that's the Vaishnava principle. So I'm going to now capture Mother Suniti's response and instructions, right? And Mother Suniti here is taking the role of a spiritual master. And we can see how beautifully she's instructing Dhruva Maharaj. First instruction, do not have ill feelings towards the stepbrother or the stepmother. Give up envious attitude. I thought this was so powerful. If everybody really took this instruction to heart, talk about sibling rivalry, talk about envious attitude with others at work, talk about so many other things. If we were to take this instruction to heart, it will be such a good solution to those problems. So here, although this, we clearly know this was mistreatment, but the way she's responding is that do not keep ill feelings. And if I can just tell you, right, see, this is how the instruction is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. And in today's modern world, if you listen to so many of those coaching and so many of those different solutions that people give, right, from psychology, you know what they say, right? If you have anger, if you have envy and all of that, it is like taking the poison yourself and expecting the other person to die. That's really what it is. And even here, think about this, right? If I am keeping envy, anger towards somebody, I'm just going to ruin my own life. So this is clearly that instruction here. So do not have any ill feelings, because then you are relieving yourself from the situation. That's really what it is. We can really tie up all of these with how this modern psychology is explaining all of that. Second is everything that is happening is because of our own karma. Nobody is to be blamed. Very clear, right? Very straightforward. That as long as we are taking responsibility for everything that is happening to us, the situation that we are in, nobody else is to be blamed, because again, that relieves so much. And there is this whole negative circle that goes on with any of the dispute, any of the differences, all of that gets cut down, because the moment we start to take responsibility for ourselves. And the third very important instruction Mother Sunita is giving to Dhruva Maharaj is take shelter of Lord Vishnu. And in this section, there is so many instructions, like that verse 22, there are so many instructions on this. So in the verse 20, Mother Suniti is giving example of Lord Brahma. She's saying, okay, now she explained through all of this, and then she comes and she says, look at Lord Brahma, right? Your great-grandfather, he took shelter of Lord Vishnu. And what did he do with that when he got the mercy, when he got the blessings? He created this entire universe. How did this happen? Because the Lord empowered him to do that. Because of the Lord's empowerment. She gives such a beautiful example. And then she's like, okay, let me come a titch down here. And then she gives example of his grandfather, who is Swayambhuva Manu. And then what does she say in verse 21? That because of Krishna's mercy, he was able to get material happiness and liberation. So here's the thing, right? Practical step, okay? When somebody is coming new to Krishna consciousness, if we told them, okay, you know what you have to do, wake up at 4 o'clock for Mangalarati, fast twice a month, refrain from onion, garlic, refrain from this, you have to offer everything before. If we gave a list of everything, can you imagine what will happen to them? They'll be like, oh, this is too hard. I don't think I can be in this process, right? Instead, first, if we introduce them and said, okay, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is very, very powerful, chant and be happy. Come and take prasadam, come and dance with us, come and engage in this. Just give them all the positive things and also how it's going to be benefiting. Because sometimes we are not ready to jump into all of this austerity, but where slowly, if we see the benefit, and we know there will be positive benefits, but it's not something that easily, like the higher things can be obtained. So slowly that's what happens. So here Mother Suniti is doing the same thing. Dhruva Maharaj was so upset. And what did he say? That I want to become greater than his great grandfather, right? That's what he said. So at that time, what is Mother Suniti saying? Okay, you want material happiness? Guess what? Go to Lord Vishnu. And ultimately, you are going to get liberation as well. So that's how Mother Suniti is directing him. And see, beautiful, right? How she does it. And then, as I said, in verse 22, directs towards pure bhakti. That's what happens. So in this verse 22, as I said, there are so many powerful instructions. So main important thing focusing is Krishna's Bhaktavatsala nature, which we understood, right? That she is explaining that if you come running to me, I can only give you temporary shelter. But Krishna's mercy is like millions of mothers, millions of mothers' mercy. So who is the topmost? Like, who can give us the topmost protection is Krishna. So guess what? You go to him, go to Krishna, go to Vishnu and worship him. That's really the beautiful instruction. And then here is the practical Krishna consciousness. She's also saying in verse 22, key takeaway. This is the how to. This comes practically so many times, like while I'm doing my duty, everything that I'm doing, how can I still do Krishna consciousness? Because this seems challenging. Should I just quit my job? Should I just leave everything and just 100% be doing that? This is it? No, it's not like that. Over and over, we are seeing this instruction. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells to Arjuna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, last Sunday, Maharaj covered the same verse, right? That was from Srimad Bhagavatam about we have to stay in our position wherever we are, whatever Krishna has given. See, all of this is not accident, right? The position we are in, the role we have been given in is for a specific reason. So we have to act in our given role, given position, do our allocated occupation while having Supreme Personality Godhead in our heart. And like we are doing now, right? In the morning, it only takes like what? 1 hour total, like for the whole thing, if we think about the sadhana. And in the evening, even if we did that, it's huge, huge how we are moving forward with our devotional practices. So it's not like Krishna is saying, quit everything and come completely. He's saying, stay where you are. And slowly, slowly, as time goes forward, situations will move in the way where then in future we will be able to dedicate more and more time. Really, ultimately, it comes to the sincerity in the heart. And I also just want to share about what I had heard from, this is, not in this forum, but I heard from somewhere else. But it was like, if God has given me, he gave me 2 cards, right? So I can only function with that 2 cards. Somebody else may have received 8 cards and they are going to perform. So the expectation is the person who had 8 cards will perform at that higher level with 8 cards being given to them. But if I've been given only 2 cards, and am I making the fullest utilization of those 2 cards, what has been given to me? See, that is what Krishna sees, right? It's not like now I can expect that I can perform and act everything like a Maharaj does or like a sannyasi does. I cannot, because I've been only given 2 cards. But am I utilizing everything within my realm or within what is given to me and making full utilization of my opportunity. So this was something I thought it really hit home when I listened to that message, because I always try to feel that I'm not doing enough in my current role or whatever. I should be doing so much more. But then, you know what, ultimately the role I'm given in, the position I'm given in, this is what I can do. And Krishna sees that. And that's where, and ultimately, am I trying to please Krishna, right? That's the most important thing. So with that, I would like to end. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu